Here we have a simple beaded border. We're going to actually do two designs here. This simple one here is one that I just made up, and I think it would make a lovely border and a very simple one to make. If you'll notice, I have 3 threads here on top of my fabric, and those are my working threads. Each one corresponds to a row of beads, and for right now we're going to concentrate on this center row of beads, which is comprised of 2 little bronze glass seed beads on either side of 3 glass bugle beads. So I am going to load 3 bugle beads onto my beading needle and a little bronze bead. Now you can load as many beads on your thread as you like. Personally, I find it a little cumbersome to work with too many. And the other thought is that the more beads that you have in one section that you have secured off, the more likely you could lose all of those beads if something were to go wrong or snag your project, whether you're wearing it or working on it, and those beads will go amiss. It's not that you can't replace those beads, but I find it easier to work in smaller segments of beads, just in case there's a problem. Then I don't have quite so much to have to replace, or lose for that matter. So I have added my beads here, and I'm simply going to go down in front or at the end of the last bead on my row. Okay, you want to go down right in front of that bead right here, because if you go too far back, when you pull your thread, the bead's not going to lay down flat. Your little row of beads are going to arch up. So the idea is to lay your bead, or put your needle through right in front of your bead. So now I'm going to actually do a back stitch to help secure and place my beads. I don't have to do all 5 beads, or 4 beads in that case, but I do want to secure a relatively large amount of them. I would say at least 2 or 3 beads. Doesn't mean you can't do all of the beads on that particular thread, but it's not necessary. So here I am doing a little bit of fiddling, trying to get my beads back on the needle so I can backstitch. So there, we have successfully put 3 beads back onto the thread. And we're going to tighten up, and once again go down to secure. Okay, and then I'm going to come back up and start my next row. That's one method of doing things. You don't have to go down and secure through your fabric if you don't choose to. You can do it simply with your back stitch, and that's what I will do with this next set of beads. So here I have 3 more bugle beads and a seed bead. Let me move my thread from the other row out of the way. And I am now going to go back down into my fabric at the end of the bead to secure it. And then I'm going to, this time we'll just go through the last 2 beads. Okay, it didn't come up right. You can come up on either side of the bead, and sometimes you need to loosen things up, or just stick your fingernail in to make room for the needle. There we go. Get it caught. All right, there we go. And that will be the end of that row for now. So now I'm going to rethread my needle, and we will work on this row a little bit. And so I'm going to load 5. See how they want to jump around? It would be even worse if I was simply using the plastic surface that I'm working on. They would really bounce around. So there we go. I've loaded some more beads. Once again, I'm going to go down in front of that last bead to secure it at the end of it. You saw it, it will like just snap right into place when you pull your thread taut. And then I'm just going to come up next to the beads, and it looks like I can go through the last 4. There we go. And there we have it. Okay. Then I will load up 5 more beads. And you can load up more beads, or you can load up less beads. This just happens to be what I feel comfortable with. Okay. And there they go. Once again, I'm going to go down in front, pull them into place, go up. This time I'm going inside, and I'm going to pick up 3 beads. Okay, and there we have it. And I can continue on until my border is as long as I would like for it to be. Okay, I have loaded my thread on my needle again, and I am going to come up where I had left off. I've actually tied off the thread on the back side of my fabric for this particular little design, and I think it would be a great border design, and that's really what I'm thinking it will be for me eventually on a garment, hopefully a flapper dress. So I'm going to find where I want to come up, and I don't want to get too close to the bead because then they start bumping into each other, so I have to allow a little bit of space, and hopefully that won't be too much space. So I'm going to load 1 bronze seed bead and 3 bugle beads and another bronze bead. So there we go. This is what I'm going to lay down. Look a little bit like inchworms. Okay. And the idea is that you want it to lay down flat, and you can draw yourself lines to indicate, you know, where you need to begin and end, but just keep in mind that not all the beads are exactly the same. There's variation in the beads, so you're going to have to adjust for the length a little bit. So I'm going down now to secure those beads, okay? And if I wanted to, I could once again do a little back stitch in my beads. I just want to catch, in this case, I'm just going to catch these last two if I can. You see, I missed. So it does, it takes a little fiddling, and it takes good light too to work with these little beads. There you go. So there I have caught 2 beads to do a back stitch just to help secure. Okay, you do not have to do that if you don't choose to, but just to demonstrate how to do it. So once again, I'm going to go back down, because what I'm actually going to do, instead of starting my new row of beads where my needle is now, I'm going to actually start it at the far end. Okay. So now I'm going to add another row of beads. I'm going to start again with 1 little bronze and 3 bugle and 1 more little bronze at the end. And you can see how the beads are not all exactly the same. So there we go. Lay them down, and I like to pull them taut just a little bit, just to make sure it lays down nicely, and figure out where to put my needle down and pull it again. There we go. So once again, I'm going to start on that side. All right, we'll do 1 more. So I will load a bronze, whoops, and bugles, 3, and lay them down again. There we go. Now see, if I pull it too tight, or if I put my needle in too far, then this will bow up. And if I want it to lay flat, I just have to be cognizant of that fact and put my needle in where it will allow it to lay down flat. So there you can see we are starting to create a little border, and this is something that you could do on your fabric before you cut your piece out, or even after you've assembled. So it just really depends on your design idea and your construction. But this is a really simple way to create a very lovely border, and we have 2 variations that can be used together beautifully.